Hello teacups, what's brewing? How are you? I hope everything's going well. Just to preface the video, this is going to be really a me update rather than a Chantel update. So if you're just here for the Chantel stuff, apologies, I'll get you next time. But I was going to tell you a little story time about something that happened today, and then I realized it was going to require a lot more explanation and better I just sit down and do a video. So it wasn't a big deal, but I was like, oh, and then I have to explain that and they won't know why that's happening, and there we go. So I just thought I'd sit down and give you an update of sort of where I am, what's happening, what I'm doing, and why I've been so busy. I apologize. So Ramadan has started. Ramadan Kareem to anyone observing. Apologies for being a few days late in saying it. But that's caused some changes at work, because Saudi Arabia does certain things during Ramadan because of the fasting that I haven't had to live through in other countries. So this is actually my first time being in country for Ramadan in Saudi Arabia, because the dates of it change by, I think it's 11 days by our calendar every year. So when I arrived my first year, it had already passed. And in my second year, I was actually stuck in lockdown in the UK. If you remember, I spent 7 months there because I couldn't get back and I completely missed it. So this has been the first time, and it's also the first time in quite a while that it's been placed within the school year because of the timing of when it's happened. During COVID, when it kind of got stuck onto the end of the school year, we ended up closing the school early because rather than come back, they didn't have a lot of time afterwards. But now we do have a few weeks after. So it's a case of, well, more than a few weeks after. So it's a case of it has to be accommodated within the calendar. But there's certain things that happen in Saudi Arabia with Ramadan, like I said, that I haven't observed elsewhere. When I lived in Indonesia, there are 5 major religions in Indonesia. And then, so when it came to things like this, you could choose to fast or not, it's up to you. But what you observe and how you're choosing to do that. But in terms of how it affected the wider world around you, it didn't really. The only change I saw visibly was that all the restaurants had like curtains put up so that you didn't have to see other people eating and drinking while you were fasting. And practically, because I don't observe, that was all that really changed for me, you know? But in Saudi Arabia, it impacts things a lot more. So in Saudi Arabia, the stores will actually shut. So they tend to shut around 3, and they tend to open up again around 8:45, which takes them through all the afternoon prayer times and things. And obviously their fasting, I say obviously like you would know, sorry, but their fasting tends to be after prayers at around 6 o'clock. The timing changes slightly depending, but around 6-ish it is. And people have been fasting all day. They need to break their fast. There's a lot of stuff going on. So stores are just open more into the night. And that's also affecting what I was doing today. I needed to go to a government service and their operating hours are different. And actually our operating hours in school have been different as well. The schedule has been adapted. And man, it's hectic. The schedule is hectic because what they should have done was remove one of the classes and rework the schedule. What they did was just keep all the classes and make them shorter. And now we're just running around like headless chickens trying to get kids transferred when there's no time. Because our classes are 35 minutes now instead of an hour. So we've got the same curriculum on half the time and we've got to figure out where they're going to be. And their break times are shorter, and obviously my kids are actually young enough they don't have to fast, but a lot of them are. So I've got 3 or 4 kids that aren't, but the rest are. And it impacts, and the teachers as well, like the Arabic teachers are all fasting. I've got some international staff with me that are also Muslim, so they are fasting as well. And everyone is just sort of like dazed and not running on a lot of energy. And they have to get up super early for prayer because prayer starts at 4 or 5 in the morning. I can't remember exactly which one. Like there's a certain time for it, the call to prayer that you hear going sometimes. What is that? I think the mosquito machine is coming around. If you can hear something in the background, there is a van that just likes to roll around shooting out vast clouds of pesticides to kill the mosquitoes that are around the compound. But I tell you, if you get caught by one at the side of the road, you done. But that's what the noise is. Yeah, I can see a cloud. So the good news is after this, I can actually go to the shop. So what was I saying there? Yeah, so the timing has changed. The day is a little bit shorter for them, and the class periods are shorter as well, but it's been really hectic. And the poor kids are like, Miss, I'm hungry. I think more than hunger, thirst is the thing, because I've chosen to not take in food or drink because I don't want them to have to deal with seeing me with it, because that doesn't feel fair. I can deal with like hunger. I can have breakfast before I go, and you can eat when you get home, but they can't. They're going all day, and like the no water is quite difficult, especially as the last couple of days the temperature has gone up a little bit. But anyway, that's going on. Like that wasn't the point of the video, but that's going on. So what it is affecting is the fact that all services do this. They shorten their working hours to try and accommodate for the fact that people are fasting and they're getting up at different times for the prayers and things like that. So I had booked, as part of my exit, I have to do a police clearance certificate. And what that means, partially it's for my, well, not just partially, it's for my records. I don't need it to leave the country, but it's good practice. If you are a teacher, if you are moving around internationally and you've been there for a while, it's best to take one with you, because your next employer, I need it for my next visa. Yeah, they're asking me for a police certificate for my current country of residence, which is Saudi Arabia. So this has quite a process, and it has a really specific timeline for a couple of reasons. So I have to get a police certificate, I have to get, sorry, there is a mosquito in here. I have to get a letter from the embassy saying, hey, we at the British Embassy do not issue police certificates on our citizens' behalf anymore, and therefore please take their passport and their Iqama, which is their residency card in Saudi, as official ID. And they issue you with that letter, and you have to take the letter to the police station to get the clearance. However, because that is issued by a foreign body, you have to go through a process called attestation, or sometimes it's known as legalization. Anyone who has done visas for work at this point is like, oh God, they know what that is. I have to do it for a ton of my academic documents for when I go to my new job. That's a process I'm also working on right now. So to do that, I have to go to MOFA. MOFA is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, yeah? It's fun because I feel like I'm calling everyone a mofo because I'm a child. And I was like, I'm going to MOFA. But here's the thing, quite separate from all of this, sorry, I forgot to say, the reason you get attested is it's a foreign body giving you this letter. So the attestation is basically an agreement from an official body in Saudi to say, this is a legal document and we allow you to use it in Saudi processes. And you can get that in all countries. When I went to China, I had to get everything attested so that China would recognize it. And it's the same here. So basically it's saying, yes, on behalf of Britain, we will recognize this because this person said that this is actually on behalf of Britain, you know? So you have to go through that process. So I went down to the offices today, and the story I was going to tell you was, oh God, I thought I was going to lose a kidney. So right now in my city, they are clearing out, I don't usually go to that part of the city, but they're clearing out the slums. And what I mean by that is they are knocking down huge swathes of buildings. And I took some pictures on the way out, some short movies. I don't know how the quality is going to be. I was in a moving car, so I just took a picture from there. But hopefully they'll just show the scope of how much has been knocked down. So I'll put those in here. So it's quite common in Saudi to have, on one side you'll have an area that has been developed, a mall has been built, a set of shops or whatever, and it's perfectly normal. And then you look to the other side of the street and it's just slightly desolate because there's nothing built, they're empty lots. They're kind of cleared, but you know when you get an empty lot, there's bits on the floor and there's all that, and there'll be that for ages. They're not lacking in land, it just hasn't been developed yet, you know? So when you go to Mofa, because it's a ministry, you can't park outside. You have to park the next street over and pay for parking there, because for security reasons, they don't want you parking right outside of the building. But to access the street from the street you're on, I had to walk across this empty lot. And it looked like someone was gonna come carry me away. So there's like a wall on the other side because that's covering the view from the other street. But you walk across, there's a little wall that goes up to about mid-calf that you step over into the sand and the broken glass and the bits of wire and the things from whatever they've cleared from that lot. You walk over to the far corner where you cannot see a way through, but I watched someone do it and I was like, I can see where he's going. There's like a stream of water where someone's put down an old door so you can walk over it without getting wet. And like a puddle that's kind of gotten out of hand. And then you go to the corner where there's like broken into the wall, there's a little opening where you squeeze through, and then it leads out into a perfectly normal street. And the wall you can see from the back that's hiding all this just looks like part of the street, and it's fine. But I got to that little opening and I was just like, oh God, I'm gonna die here. Someone is gonna steal my kidneys, I'm gonna get kidnapped. Like, it's not a place where you look and you think, yes, this will lead to a legitimate government building. You know? And then I got into the other side, and on the other side of the street, someone's like, excuse me, sister, beckoning me over. And I'm like, who the hell is this? Because they call you, it's very common in China as well. Depending on how you look, essentially, they'll call you like sister or auntie or grandmother or whatever it is, depending on your age. So a guy about my age is like, excuse me, sister. And because he can see I'm foreign, I'm holding documents. And he's basically a little office that they've got set up outside of Mofa to be able to check your appointment and see that you're due to be there, because you have to make an appointment online. This is what the problem was for me. Because of the reduced hours, they're only opening at 10, but they haven't changed their appointment system. So yesterday I realized I'd made an 8 o'clock appointment, because 8 o'clock appointments were still available. And you pay for this. You pay for your attestation online before you go. So you're paying for your appointment. And I went to get permission from my head to come in late, because you have to do that. Oh, God, press just started. Because you have to do that. And she was like, okay, because I didn't want to miss any lessons, because my kids had assembly and then they were going into an Arabic lesson. So if I could get it done quickly, I could be back before my lesson started, which is why I'd chosen today. And I went to get it signed, and she looked at me and she was like, they're not going to see you at 8 o'clock in the morning. It is Ramadan. And we were like, what do you mean? And I was like, but the appointment was available. She was like, yeah, that's Saudi. They don't update their stuff. Like, they are not going to see you. And actually, when I got there, after I'd seen this guy, and he was like, okay, that's fine. Go and wait in that queue across the street. Because they had some covered walkways, and they were just like, wait there, because they were just opening up, and there was a man's side across the street, and then there was the woman's side. So I waited on the woman's side, and the girl in front of me said hi. We started chatting, and she was like, yeah, I've been here since 7:45, because she didn't realize that they wouldn't see her at 8 o'clock either, because she went by the appointment system. And she lives far away. She didn't want to call her dad, and by the time they'd have gotten back, she would have had to come back. So she was just sitting waiting for 2 hours. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, you know, and we were just commiserating. But it was a mess. So yesterday I was like frantically trying to get a new appointment. I went back online. Luckily there was an appointment open for 10 o'clock. I booked it for 10. I was trying to call the helpline, which, it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Affairs of Foreigners. He realized I was speaking English and he hung up on me. I was like, excuse me? And then I got my friend from the 3rd grade teacher who speaks Arabic, and because my Arabic is not up to what I would need it to be for this. And she phoned him, and he was so rude to her. He's like, what do you want? Why are you calling? And we're like, because you're the fucking helpline, my dude. It's 11 o'clock. That's why we're calling you now, because your system is saying something that isn't true and we need help, hence the helpline. Oh, he was so rude. She was so annoyed. She was like, it's Ramadan, so I can't swear, but I'll let you cuss him out for me. You know? So I said some things on her behalf. But this guy, man. So I was afraid I was going to lose a kidney. It was okay. I squeezed through the hole in the wall. I got the thing. He tried to tell me I didn't have the appointment because I had two. And then he was like, why have you paid twice? Because I had two appointments and didn't know how to cancel the other one. And I got inside and it was half an hour. They just give you, they take your phone because it's a government building. You can't keep it. They give you a tag for it. You go in, you go up to the counter, they stamp it, and then you go out and collect your phone. It's not a big deal. But yeah, that was just like, I was wandering this open lot, just hoping whatever was through the hole was not going to lead to my death. And then I had to go back out. But man, I've got to make 4 of these appointments because that was just the document I needed to legalize so that I can apply for the police certificate. So I've now got to go. I've got an appointment on Thursday. And it's again 10 o'clock because they only work during my work hours, and the morning, that's the time where I'll miss the least lessons. So they're covering me for math, and then they've got like art and Arabic either side of math. So it's only 1 lesson. I should be back by then. So I've got to take this legalized letter to the police station. I have booked the police station online from 10 o'clock because they have updated their timings. So I've got an appointment and I have to take like 100 riyal and a passport photo and or whatever, and my Igama and my passport. I have to apply for the police certificate. I then have to go in person and collect it a week later. I can't send someone to collect it for me. So that's the 3rd appointment. And I then have to go back to MOFA with this certificate and I have to legalize that certificate. But here's the issue I have. So I need that for my visa because obviously I work with children. Safeguarding is extremely important. They have to prove that I have no criminal record in my current country. But your criminal record check has to be less than 3 months old because it has to be current. Of course it has to be current. But I'm leaving Saudi, so I have to time it so that when I leave the country, because as long as you leave the country with an active one, with because they'll last as long as they last, but they'll only really be accepted by anyone if they're less than 3 months. So if you leave the country before that 3 months runs out, it is valid forever until you re-enter the country. So any place I apply for in the future, if they need to know, okay, we need criminal record checks from wherever you've lived to make sure, because, you know, people go to other places and hide their history and you need to prove, no, I've got no criminal record anywhere. So I need to take that and it needs to be within the 3-month period so it doesn't invalidate it by the time I leave, because no one will accept it for the safeguarding if it's more than 3 months old. So I've got a really specific set of dates because the police check appointment I have is on the 7th and I finish work, it's either the 3rd or the 4th, the teachers finish. The kids finish earlier, of July. So I have to leave the country in those few days because it can't hit the 7th. The 7th is when I have the appointment because then it will be older than 3 months when I leave in July. So that is now my date. But not only do I have to do that, I have to go through the take it, wait for a week, come back, get the attestation appointment again. And I have to do that before I go home we're in the month of Ramadan right now, but the Ramadan holiday is only for part of it, yeah? So on the 27th, I'm flying home because a lot of my documentation they need for my visa is actually at my dad's place. I have like my degree certificates, but all my academic transcripts, the originals of those are with my dad. And a few other things like my birth certificate, I have a certified copy of that, but I didn't bring it with me. I just brought the basics with me. And no one was expecting COVID. I was expecting to be home more often. So I've got to go home and get all these documents and get them sent off for the visa process for the next job, which means that I need to have all the stuff I'm getting from Saudi, which is really only the police certificate, but I need to have that done and attested by Saudi before I leave on the 27th. And I need to fit it around work because it only happens during my work time and I can't miss my lessons. So it's a whole thing. It's like, where will this fit? And my kids are doing an assembly next cycle, so I can't miss that day. But that means that out of the 2 days when I have enough time in the schedule to fit this in, one of them is now gone. It's a bit of a mess. And I feel so bad going up to the school and being like, yeah, I need to come in late again. Sorry, but it's 4 appointments, my dude. It's 4 appointments. I can't do anything, you know? So that's the kind of stuff I've been dealing with. It's lots of like paperwork and appointments and having to do things at certain times. And then also, I completely forgot tomorrow my planning is due. So I got to do that after I finish doing this video because so many other things are in my brain. I was like, oh shit, the stuff I actually regularly do need to happen, you know? So that's where we are. We're all just trying to survive until Ramadan holiday, and then I've got to travel during that for this, and that's my life at the moment. And that's just one element. Well, when it comes, this is more for my forward visa than it is for leaving the country. When you leave the country, you've got to do things like close your bank account and get a letter to prove you have no debt in the country and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. So yeah, it's all fun and games. I'm chasing up my school now because I actually have to ask them for permission to leave the country. I have booked my flight and I've paid the money through a system called Estad on the Estad, I can't remember now. But there's a system on the bank where it can let you choose government services, and the exit re-entry visa, you pay like 200 SAR for a time. So once I've paid for that, which I have done, I have to send my confirmed flight to my school proving I've got a flight back and I'm not just doing a runner, and the receipt for my payment of my visa, and then they have to press a button that gives me permission to do that because they are my sponsor, because they are my school. It's just a whole thing. I'm hoping, I've got to look into it, but I don't think that's the case. In my next place, I think you can just get a multi-exit re-entry visa and pay for that, put it in your passport, and then you can travel on your own, which would be lovely, just to not have to go through the system every time. I've not had any problem with my school denying me anything, so it's not been an issue that way for me, but it's just nicer to know you have control over things, you know? So anyway, I'm rambling a bit, but yeah, was scared I'd lose a kidney, was very shocked to see all the clearance. Like, I knew that they were clearing the slums, which is why we got so many empty lots. They have like the desolation of generally like this hasn't been developed yet, but my city is also currently clearing slums. And so there's a lot of just wreckage basically, where, and again, I will put in the footage of that, or I have put in the footage of that. I can't remember at this point because I haven't done it yet, but I'll do it in post. Where there was literally, we were driving past and it was nothing but like piles of earth and stone where they've knocked down building after building after building, and just like 4 cranes in the middle trying to move all this stuff. They're going to redevelop it, they say, because they've got the Vision 2030 here right now, because they really want to host the World Expo in 2030. But they're making a lot of changes to try and accommodate for that, and part of it is like redeveloping certain areas that might be quote unquote undesirable, and redeveloping, like, because the thing with the slums are you clear the slums, but then where do the people go? They're not living there because they can afford to be elsewhere, you know? So it's a whole thing. But yeah, it was quite shocking to see just how vast some of the areas are, and I don't usually go to that part of town, so I don't see as much. We've got a few little things that have been cleared here that I've driven through on the way to school and things. But yeah, it was just much wider than I had seen before. So anyway, that was a lot of rambling. I do realise this mosquito is driving me crazy. A lot of rambling, I do realise, and maybe doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but yeah, that's where we are right now here, and I'm just trying to sort everything out. So I'll probably update you again when maybe I'm home, when we get stuff done and I start getting things sent off and attested and all of that. But if anyone was wondering, that's what I've been doing. Okay, I'm gonna let you go and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.